Hey, welcome back everyone. Rob Marzullo here from Ram Studio Comics. In today's video, I'm going to attempt to show you how to draw the male head, or I guess a head, but I'll detail it in a male head or whatever. Maybe we'll do a female, I don't know. But it's going to be in a 3/4 view. And the reason being is that I've done videos where I showed the process, but I didn't narrate it and explain it. So I'm going to explain it this time, and hopefully that makes it a bit easier, because it can be a little complex, but I want to show you, or just talk to you about why the complexity issue of it can kind of be subsided a bit. You don't have to worry too much, and I'll show you why. So with that, we're going to start with the circle, the hardest thing you'll ever draw in life, the infamous circle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you can do a perfect circle, then you should probably join the circus, because you're amazing, and that's what amazing people do. They join the circus. I would have, but all the spots for elephants were taken, and I didn't have any other qualities. Okay, so essentially with this, forgive me, my voice a little raspy. I just got up. I just want to show you my dedication to you guys. I roll right out of bed and I start recording, um, which is probably why I'm going to sound a little loopy today and a little bit weird. So basically a circle and then an oval off to the side. Okay, so what is this oval? You know, it's obviously not even a perfect oval, but what it is, it's perceiving that you're taking, this is like the Andrew Loomis method, where you slice off two of the sides. And I'm not going to get into mathematics of what that is. Just figure like a 1/6, 1/8, whatever. Just do it visually. But essentially what you want to train yourself to do is realize that the head is not a perfect circle. If it was, we would all be smiley faces. And we're not, so it's not a perfect circle. I guess we wouldn't all be smiley faces. I feel more like this guy right now. So yeah, so oval there. We've sliced off the sides in a perspective, in a dimensional way, I guess. And then we want to perceive the center of the face. So this is where it gets tricky as well. So let me explain this a little bit more. And again, it's going to seem a bit technical at first, but it gets easier, and I'll tell you why. So essentially with this one, the reason why this seems complex is it's like, well, is that really center? You know, and are we going to sit here and do some kind of mathematical thing and figure out where's center, you know, all this stuff. I don't know if that was mathematical. But, you know, basically, you're just going to have to visualize that part. But what you do want to think about is the fact that, again, we did slice off one side over here. So it kind of makes sense that there's going to be a little bit off on this side as well. So again, we nudge that over. So this is like I think of it like a ball of clay. And you'll hear me say that a lot on the channel, because when I'm drawing, I'm constantly thinking like, well, if I was sculpting this, what would I do? Even though I'm not much of a sculptor other than some ZBrush stuff. But I think about it that way so that I'm constantly maneuvering and moving lines around. So now what I'm doing is I'm bringing this over to find the top and bottom of that. It's also going to help me with symmetry, even though these lines are pretty crooked at this point. But that's not a big deal, because again, these are I don't want you to adhere to this too tightly. These are just to get you going, get you some general placement. So now what we can do is find the center of these two, and again, approximate, and then we're going to add that. So this gives you kind of what, I don't know if it's referred to as the rule of thirds, but I always call it that, because there's a lot of 1/3 in the body, and in the face especially. All over. It's like a very great way to map things. Now this we're going to split into quadrants. Okay, so we're just going to put a line down the middle horizontally and vertically. Or this is horizontal, this is vertical. You probably know that. Then a line going across through this middle here. So now we've got this 1, 2, and 3. And I guess you could think about it in 4s, because you could count the lines, but I'm counting the divides. Okay. So now what this does, it gives us a place to connect our line here. You've got a relationship from here to the chin, so something like that. And then here, this is, to me, open for debate as well. So a lot of people will say, well, you divide this in 2 and you add one more, and you know, or I've seen people say, no, you divide this into 3 and you add one more. You know, so there's all this speculation and different interpretation, I guess. You could really just visualize that. But the main thing is that you're going to use whatever measurement you get here. Let's say that we went with this mark for this particular angle, because you have to remember that as the head tilts back, this angle is going to change, right? It's going to start to go, and eventually the chin's going to be up here. So forgive my cheesy sound effects. But essentially, that's how it goes. But what happens is now you can use this line to come over here. Now this gets hidden pretty much from this particular angle, but you still want to think about it. In fact, you always want to draw through your work whenever, especially when you're doing bodies. Bodies, it's really important, but even the face, you want to think about, okay, if this is the right angle where the other side of the jaw is hidden, where is it exactly? Is it here? Is it over here? Does it peek out just a bit where you get a change in that shape from a very structured jawline, like a military type character or somebody tough? I don't know. And then right here in this lower quadrant, there you place the ear. Okay, now, I don't know if you can tell yet. I'm going to actually make a copy because I like showing this off to the side so that you can see the progression. Okay. Hopefully this video doesn't get too awfully long. That's usually why I time-lapse, folks, just so you know. Okay, so now... oh, and I do got to say that I'm sorry, I got to plug my book. This is the part where everybody probably sighs and go, oh, here he goes again. But I got a book on Amazon, Learn to Draw Action Heroes. Check it out. I do cover some of this stuff here. And, just excited to have a book out on the market like that. It's by Impact Publishing, Learn to Draw Action Heroes. Check it out. And if you like it, leave a review. All right, back to the drawing. So now the other neat thing is by dividing it into thirds here, you also get the hairline right here, approximately. Now, one thing that I see with this, I immediately want to do is I want to shift this top head came out too spherical. Now, one of the reasons being, I think when I added my disc shape over here, I should have cut back just a little bit. But you can also just add a little bit of height on the old cranial mass here, which for a lot of people probably makes sense. So what you got to think about is that this is the structured approach, but you're still going to have to move these things around. And that's where I go back to that ball of clay mentality. It's not set in stone. In fact, if you adhere to this the whole time, you're going to probably get some carbon copy type characters. You want to vary this up. In fact, I oftentimes, just to show you real quick, and we'll get back to this, I oftentimes do this. I jump a few steps and I immediately go to the shape of the head, and then I start playing around because I like doing these very caricature looking people, and I just kind of get all freaky with it. I don't know if that was the right way to say that. It doesn't really pertain to this particular type of drawing, does it? But I immediately start scribbling and I have some fun with it. But I did caricatures for a lot of years and comics for a lot of years, so I can generally fake some of the areas of it. But that's when you learn to break the rules a little bit. But first you need to learn the rules to then know when to bend them and break them. So now, the neat thing about the placement of the ear is it comes over, even in this angled view, it will give you the general placement of the nose. If you struggle with the nose, then you can do something like, a diamond shape or kind of a wedge shape or whatever. Just something to represent that it's coming off the face. So what happens is a lot of times we tend to just go, noses are hard, I'll just do something like that. And then you do a quick shape, which isn't bad if you understand the shapes of the nose. But if you don't, you start coming out with these weird looking wonky shapes. You don't know where to put it. It's actually not a bad nose either. Another way to do it is just to start with the bottom of it. So I've seen people that get really good at this, and sometimes I'll do this and just do the shadow under the nose at first. Anything just to get you started and get the placement. But again, you've got that ear for your representation over to here. Again, it's in that 1/3. I like to do this where I draw a brow line and I draw it a little bit lower, because remember this top line is the brow line, not the eyes. At least I don't find it works out that way. In fact, I tend to even bring this down a little bit more. So let's bring it down to like this. And you can do this with like an M shape, a stretched out M, or just kind of this circle here, and then 2 lines over. What this does, again, it just gets you started, but then you can now drop your eyes in with a little more confidence. It also forces you to see, or hopefully you see, that this side is going to be elongated. This angle is going to be shorter and stout, more stout, because foreshortening, and I constantly pull back this line here because, again, the distance here to here, if I want this to look accurate, it needs to be more shallow here. Okay, so now, again, I'm gonna show you the basic way. I'm gonna draw this nose. I need to bring it over a bit, and just draw it as a kind of a wedge shape. Just something. It doesn't matter. Just get it started. Now for this next area, I'm gonna divide this into thirds. Now this can be tricky as well, because and keep in mind I'm dividing it from here, so this would be my 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm a little bit off, but again, it's just general placement just to get it started, and it's getting a bit messy, so let me soft erase this back, and I'll increase the size for you because maybe you're working on a little screen or something. I don't know. You're looking on your phone. I don't know. If I could see what you were doing, my name would be Google. Just kidding, Google. Just kidding. Google's not watching us. I hope not. That would suck. But yeah, so essentially, when I don't know what to say, I say essentially. Essentially, as I ponder what to say next, now we can get in here with a little more confidence, start to draw our character, whoever this said hero might be, maybe a villain. But oh, back to these 3 lines, my bad. Suffer from that little ADD thing or whatever, low attention span. But put the one lip, or at least this is the way I do it. I put the one lip, the top lip on that top line, the bottom lip right here, and then I use that last line to mark the chin. It doesn't always work out that way, and then this is a floating area because here's the pivot of the jaw somewhere in there. I think it's right there. And the jaw drops down like this. So then all this information changes. So this only works really on closed mouth poses. Again, I'm going to keep stressing, you don't want to worry too much about adhering to this all the time. This is just for this particular type of drawing to build confidence. I'm going to get like the shape of the nose in there now, like this. I'll start with the bottom. And I think I got it a little bit too far forward. There's like this triangular, is that a triangle? Yeah, kind of triangular shape that goes back like that. Yeah, the nose is just a little bit too far forward. But we'll just roll with it. Nobody's nose is perfect. At least not mine. So now the brow. And actually I'll do the eyes first, but I'll just draw in a quick line to signify the brow. Cool thing about the eyes is that the nose will actually give you the placement of the eyes. Now, what you can do is just draw a line straight up like this, right? And there's your divide for the eyes. Now, I also maneuver these, and I'll show you why here in a second. And then you have to figure out the base of the eyes, kind of like the lower. Now, a lot of people will do this here, and it's good to think about this. Look, he's got glasses. It's good to think about this as the eyes being spherical, for sure. You definitely want to illustrate them that way because as they protrude back into the eye cavities, that's obviously what they are. They're not just little slits that are open like this. But for the sake of ease and focusing, not getting too much into the process, I'm gonna draw in some eye shapes. Okay, and you can kind of start these with just these little blocky shapes. What happens is I tend to start angular with almost anything, especially anything complex and anything that I struggle with symmetry on. Eyes, I always struggle with symmetry. In fact, this is generally where I start to flip the canvas back and forth because I always seem to get one eye off. It drives me nuts. If I ever figure out the secret sauce of that, I will share it with you. Other than what I'm telling you, and that's essentially flip it back and forth and use angular lines to kind of hone things and bring them into perspective. So what I do here is I've got the divide equal to each eye. So you got, like a 1, 2, 3. Again, there's that rule of threes or rule of thirds or whatever. But 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, this eye needs to be a little bit more shallow. I don't know if I'm saying that right, width-wise, because of foreshortening. So there's that. Then what I start to do is just pick at it and get the other shapes in there. So to me, when I study an eye, I see, I'll just do a quick little mock-up. I see this. It slopes to the back, it rounds forward or out, and then it dips down for the tear duct. That's the basic primitive shape that I see. You got all these other things like, does the eyelid get covered by the brow? Do they have the big eyelids? You know, and the sultry looking sexy eyes. You know, it's all this stuff. You got to figure out what kind of eyes you're doing. But in this case, just some basic eyes. But again, now when you think about that spherical aspect of it, you kind of do, at least what I tend to do, is I do all that work inside the eye, especially for comics. So I do like a little drop shadow on each side. I tried to make it look spherical inside the eye and then around it. Little things like this. But whatever. I'm not going to get too much into stylization of the character. That's why I never really know where to draw the lines with this stuff. I start teaching something, next thing I'm like, oh, am I teaching like something entirely different here? But it all just kind of works together, so you learn all these different techniques. So the brow, we'll do these big heavy brows, something like that. Give them the tough guy lines, a little detail there. And then with the thirds again, so you can kind of use this line to find the cheek there, obviously paying attention to the one over here. And the side marks of the face, like that. Now for the eyes again are that 1/3 thing. So again, there's just a lot of areas of the body where it's 1/3. So the iris is 1/3 the width of the overall eye. Again, this is going to be to interpretation. It's going to also be to different character types. So when you start to do this, now the eyes are going to be pretty consistent though, by the way, unless it's style choice. But when you do this, hold on, I got to focus here for just a second. I always get the pupils off. This is like the hardest thing on the planet, next to spelunking without a spelunker. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Until I watched Batman not so long ago, he was spelunking. Yeah, so there's a little glare off to the side of the eyes, and what do we got here? Okay. And let's see if it's off. Here's the moment of truth, folks. Every time I do this, it like sticks out like a sore thumb. Yeah, it's not great. The nose is off. All right, I'm going to keep this reversed because this is also a really important thing. At least this is something I constantly struggle with. The brows are off. The nose is off a bit. I could probably correct the nose by bringing the mouth forward. Or you know what it is? Oh, goodness, that's embarrassing. It's the fact that this nose doesn't line up to the point of the nose. Sheesh. Oh, beaties. This is the beauty of digital, folks. Probably why I went digital right here. But you can move these features around. If you're working traditionally, you're just going to soft erase and redraw. Not a big deal. But this is, where you have to just kind of edit the work and keep, checking things and trying to make them better. The eye shapes are off. The brow could be better. In fact, I think I tend to go with these really heavy eyebrows. It gives me more room to stylize them, and it helps me to show that definitive, male versus female. And the other thing is this: the pupils will give you the width of the mouth, so you can see right there, the mouth is not in the right place. So it's kind of neat how the face will help you. Parts of the face will help you guide your illustration and bring it all together. And I'll just kind of move things around because I like seeing what the character looks like as I nudge this stuff around. And then I probably even change the brow here. Now I'm going to stop changing stuff after that because then it becomes an issue of me just trying to make you a pretty drawing. This isn't so much about that because you can sit around all day and keep tweaking your drawing until you get it just right. Just about mapping out these measurements. So now what I'll do is draw on the brow line. And you see a lot of these sketch lines have given me tons of reference to work with and gain perspective on what I'm doing. Excuse me. But the main thing is, I would say, is the rule of thirds. And I'm just going to call it that. I don't think that's what it's called. But, that you got these three areas of the face that you could segment and kind of visualize. That the height of the nose and the lower part, top and bottom of the nose, gives you positioning to the ear. Now, obviously, it's not going to be straight across. No, it's not a straight line. Come on. Line, do this for me. Blaming the line because I can't draw it. So you see it's higher there, but I did that intentionally because you have to think about it as a sphere. So it goes over and then it starts to wrap around. So again, this is just where you start to, as you draw this stuff, you start to get a little bit better at perceiving some sort of perspective. And then you're going to change things like the cranial mass. You can see I added a little bit of height right there. I thought it was necessary. Probably could even took that a little further. For different character types, you're going to move these things all around. So hopefully this helps you and shows you a few things. I want to make sure I covered everything. So the eyes give you the position of the mouth. I do want to make mention of this. Like I was trying to say about triangular shapes, there's a lot of triangle shapes that you can find in the face to help you pinpoint things. You know, there's just a bunch of them. So look for these relationships. And the best way, it's almost starting to look like a suit. Dun, dun, dun. Who's this guy? Looks like somebody, I don't know. Anyways, if you start to look for these relationships, it becomes a lot easier to pinpoint flaws. One last one I'll leave you with, because I always find this to be important for my work. You can even draw a center line down the character and do your best to make it look like it's mapping right through the middle of the character's face or whatever body. You can use this on anything. And what happens here is you have a line right down the middle of the face. Now you can look across now, hopefully, and judge this. And then you can also draw a few straight lines across. Make sure that your features of your eyes, nose, and mouth line up that way. If you were to put a straight line through each one of them. But that, with that line right down the middle, should help you to pinpoint some little flaws you can also work out. So this is like more like perceiving things like in a 3D program or something. But I've always found it to help me with my work. So try it, see if it helps you, whatever. Just want to share that last little tidbit. Let me know in the comments section below what you think of this video, if it's been helpful, and what you'd like to see in the future. I try to always get that on the channel here. As always, I appreciate you tuning in and watching. And yeah, have a great day. Keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.